This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, it's Alien Invasion Friday. If you're looking at the news, you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyways, how are you? I hope everything is good and grand inside of your neck of the woods, because it's always important to have that conversation, so no doubt about that whatsoever as we are hanging out. Anyways, today's Friday. Like I said, it's June the 16th of 2023, day 167th of the year, and only 198 days left to go. Maybe it's Flash Day. Not that kind of Flash. I was talking about the movie. Calm it down. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida. Yeah, Orlando, Florida. You know, that sunshine state, unless you're here during the summer, then it becomes something entirely different. So with that being said, we are also hanging out in that multiverse of Safety FM and being with our friends and colleagues at that other place.
Radio in USA, Canada, UK.
Yes, so what does that mean to you? It means that it's Friday and it's Freeform Friday. So what does that mean exactly? That means that today's the day that we talk about all the shit that we didn't talk about earlier in the week, which is kind of exciting as we do that. And also the other things that we get to do is just yapper about everything that's going on inside of the multiverse. So that's always a fun time as we can do that. So hopefully you're not at a home where it's being tinted. What does that mean? Where they put the whole thing inside under like some kind of a tarp, that kind of stuff. It's not good trying to get in when that stuff's going on. But anyways, that's a whole other story. So if you're not familiar with what we do around here Fridays, it's kind of the wild day, as I was just saying. But we talk a little bit about everything about safety in the news and safety, except on Freeform Friday, which is this kind of a bigger train wreck than what it normally is. So that's cool, as we are talking. I didn't mention this, and I thought about it later on in the week. And I guess I should have talked about this at some point in my lifetime because it did happen. So I'll bring this up if it pops up. But we kind of reverted a little bit earlier this week with this. If you are on the streamer Emer where you can see us on video, the Jay Allen show, not the radio station version, but the show that we started off Safety FM with, we kind of reverted a little bit back with this thing. Safety FM with Jay Allen is now the name of the podcast, or if you're listening to it live on Safety FM, we kind of changed it back a little bit, kind of going back to the roots. If you didn't take a listen to it earlier in the week, but we've reverted back with Safety FM with Jay Allen, so you'll be able to take a listen to that versionality back to what we kind of were when we started 5 years ago. So that's one of those things that we're doing. And I did mention the streamer eamer. If you're watching, well, I didn't even tell you how to get there. If you're not there and you want to get there and you want to watch the video aspect, which there's really not a need, but I'll tell you anyways on how to do it. You go to safetyfm.com, you go to radiobig.fm, and you click on the section that says visual radio. And this will give you the visuals here of everything that we're doing on this end. Outside of that, we have radio apps. Safety FM, also Radio Big, the app, or both of those apps are available. You can listen to us on TuneIn. You can listen to us on iHeart. So you have options to take a listen to what the hell we have going on. No doubt about that. So if you're not familiar with the show, we do a little bit of everything, as stated before. But if you are on the social media aspects, we're kind of delayed. And it's just us here that are delayed. And understand that it's still always a conversation between you and I. It really is. It's just sometimes we're just delayed in what the things that we do on that other side. So just keep that in mind as we are talking. So there you go. So with that being said, why don't we start talking real quick about what the hell was trending in the overnight? Because I want to talk about it because there were so many fun things.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so talking about what was trending and what's on tap, one of Tesla's major battery suppliers is in hot water, and a new development shed light on COVID-19 origins. We'll talk about that as we get into the shit list. Michael Jordan's flu game sneakers sold at auction this week, and Lisa Vanderpump is opening up a new restaurant in Lake Tahoe. We'll talk about that. Carrie Fisher's final film gets a release date, and Disney announces its long-term movie release plan and at least one box office hit. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll get into some of the SBF stuff. We'll talk about some of that information and then get into this alien stuff that you might have seen, heard, all that kind of fun stuff. We'll laugh about that together as we are talking. So let me tell you on how we bring in the professional broadcasters, because they really know what the hell is going on inside of the world of the news, opposed to me sitting here going, well, let me talk about what's going on, because, we just don't want that. So we'll talk about that aspect on what's going on with the newso, because why wouldn't you want that? So we'll do that, and then that's pretty much it. We come back and we'll just talk, sit back, relax. No, it is not Whip 'em Out. It is not Whip 'em Out Wednesday, so don't get the wrong idea. And, the Flash thing, well, is exactly that. It's Flash, the movie I was talking about. The nostalgia moments will be happening over the weekend, because of people wanting to see the old Batman. I mean, and when I say old Batman, you can take it however you want. We're talking about Michael Keaton. We are talking about Ben Affleck. I wonder if Christian Bale will make a surprise appearance. Wouldn't that be some shit? So anyways, I don't know why I'm going into that. Apparently, there is a big impact of the Batman in my life, it looks like. Oh, I wonder if you got that. Okay, so there you go. So with that being said, let's get into the news, because I just want to. I don't think do I need any other reason? Yeah, let's just get into the news, because it sounds like a fun time. We have people waiting, like, the glorious people that are sitting out there waiting to talk, like Mark Mayfield.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. At least 3 people are dead and dozens more injured after a tornado touched down in the Texas panhandle city of Perryton. The town of over 8,000 was without power Thursday night as the twister left widespread damage. It was part of a larger system that also hit Oklahoma, where utility poles and trees were snapped and knocked down. Wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour and tennis ball-sized hail were reported with the storms. A tornado watch was also in effect Thursday in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. The Massachusetts Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified documents has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Trey Thomas reports.
Jack Teixeira faces 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of classified information related to national defense. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said Teixeira was entrusted by the U.S. government with access to sensitive information that could cause grave damage if shared. I'm Trey Thomas.
The Supreme Court could soon rule on two major cases as it heads into the final stretch of the current session. Lisa Taylor fills us in.
The High Court heard arguments in February over two cases challenging President Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student loan debt for eligible U.S. borrowers. The justices could issue a ruling on the cases as soon as Friday. Meanwhile, the court may also rule on whether colleges can consider race in admissions decisions. The court in 1978 declared affirmative action as lawful and has since reaffirmed that holding. I'm Lisa Taylor.
An Ohio man is charged with aggravated murder after sheriff's deputies found his three young sons shot and killed Thursday afternoon. Clermont County deputies found the 7-, 4-, and 3-year-old boys dead in the yard of a house in Monroe Township, 25 miles southeast of Cincinnati. And Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo has put the final touches on a bill to help the Oakland Athletics build a $1.5 billion stadium on the Las Vegas Strip. He signed the bill on Thursday. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
The mayor of Miami is tossing his name into the 2024 presidential race. Francis Suarez delivered his presidential campaign remarks yesterday after his official announcement.
Freedom, as we know, is never free. It needs to be renewed and re-won by every generation. And to meet this challenge, we need a strong leader.
Suarez became the first Hispanic to enter the growing field for the GOP nomination. He announced his bid on ABC's Good Morning America Thursday, a day after filing official federal paperwork. The 45-year-old told GMA he's running because he thinks he has a different message to offer than the other candidates. Suarez joins former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as candidates from the Sunshine State. The second defamation trial against former President Trump by E. Jean Carroll is set for January. A federal judge said on Thursday that the civil trial will begin on January the 15th, 2024. Carroll claims that Trump defamed her in 2019 by calling her a whack job, among other things. In a separate suit last month, a jury found Trump liable for defaming her in 2022 on Truth Social. The jury decided Trump did not rape Carroll, but did sexually assault her. She was awarded $5 million in the lawsuit. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed legislation banning transgender women from competing in collegiate athletics. Brian Shook reports.
Texas's Senate Bill 15 is also known as the Save Women Sports Act. It requires that collegiate athletes only play for teams matching their biological sex. The new law will take effect in September, building on a 2021 law that has the same set of rules for public school sports teams at the high school level. I'm Brian Shook.
And Al Pacino is a father at the age of 83. His 29-year-old girlfriend, Noor Alfala, recently gave birth and was seen by TMZ out with the actor in Los Angeles. They've been together since April of 2022, but TMZ says the pregnancy came as a surprise to him. Mark Mayfield, NBC News Radio.
Bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
It's always amazing to me on how technology changes, and so does the environment that we're in. And cyber criminals will do everything they can to take advantage of a system. If you don't own a home, you have nothing to fear about what I'm about to tell you. But if you own a home like me and you don't guard it with home title lock, you're inviting home title fraud. One of the fastest growing crimes. Cyber thieves around the world know our home values are sky high at the moment, and that makes us a target. The crime is scary simple. Let me explain it to you real quick. A cyber thief simply forges your name on a property sale form and refiles it. That's it. Now he or she is on the deed of your home and you have no idea that you're a victim. Then the person takes out a loan on your home and vanishes, leaving you to prove to the police that you didn't commit bank fraud. Home Title Locks puts a virtual barrier around your home title. The instant they detect any kind of tampering or anybody messing around, they help shut it down. Look, if you have equity in your home, you need to guard it the best way that you can. Some people might even go as far as guarding it with their life. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you already are a victim. And enter the code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's the code RADIO for 30 days free of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do?
You're gonna go grocery shopping. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
More hits to help you work. Because to get rich, you gotta work hard.
Yeah, dude, like I just made so much money that I could just sit around on my ass all day and play video games.
Wait, I forgot about Dogecoin.
Dogecoin rules!
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 17 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this Freeform Friday. Yep, that's what it sounds like on a freeform. So let's go ahead and get into the information and talk about everything that we have seen on the shit list. So let's get it rolling. Any federal prosecutors have agreed to drop 5 charges against Sam Bankman-Fried, connected to his role to the crypto exchange FTX implosion last year. Sort of. The five fraud and bribery counts are not part of the original indictment. On the authorities, the Bahamas agreed to extradite the SBF back to the United States. The prosecutors are agreeing to try those 5 charges separately next year. Essentially, once the American and Bahamian government filed the appropriate paperwork, the judge overseeing the case on Thursday, he would give more thought on whether he would approve trying the counts separately. This is according to NBC or CNBC and ABC News, just so you know. Take a listen to this one. The mining company responsible for supplying Tesla with raw cobalt and nickel to manufacture the batteries that tops the list of companies committing to human rights abuses for the second year in a row. The Business and Human Rights Resources Center tracks abuse allegations against companies around the world. Of the 65 major accusations last year, 9 of them were connected to mining giant Glencore. Accusations include workers' treatment of polluting practices and government corruption. This is all coming via The Verge. So what do you think about that? What do you think about that when you hear that? Will that cause you, and I'm just asking the question, will this cause you to stop buying stuff from Tesla? I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know what your relationship is when it comes to stuff like that. I'm just asking. Think about it real quick. Conservationists, the Isle Royale National Park in Lake Superior say that the gray wolf population is now thriving after the species nearly went extinct on the island about 5 years ago. As the wolf population dwindled, officials imported wolves to the island. They now estimate there was about 31 or so on the island itself. The expansion of the wolf population was also helped keep the moose population contained. There were just too many of those natural ecosystems to feed, and their primary food source, well, was fir trees. We're getting stripped bare. This is according to the Associated Press. Yeah, that's what we talk about on Friday. You see when I tell you that we're going to take the deep dives into some of the stuff that we didn't get to? That's how deep we get there. A group of independent journalists believe that they have identified the first people to have contracted COVID-19. Let's take it slow as we talk about this. The journalists cite the unnamed sources within the U.S. government who confirm 3 of the earliest people to contract the virus worked at the Wuhan lab in China. One of them specifically worked on gain function research. Meanwhile, the Times in London similar quotes of the unnamed State Department officials saying it became increasingly clear that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was involved in the creation and cover-up of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is via public. Now, that's a news source. Just so you know, I just don't want you to think it was like, oh, yeah, the general public told me this shit. But that's stuff to think about. I mean, I'm just saying in general.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Yep. All kinds of stuff right there. So have you ever wondered which states are best prepared to handle an alien invasion? Well, thanks to NJCasino.com, we now know, according to research which looked at the population density number of UFO sightings, landscaping, and defense of states, Virginia is the best prepared to handle an invasion with an 8.04 out of 10. Thanks to the larger military force per capita. Ironically, Nevada had the lowest survivability score with just 4.53 out of 10. The rating is due to the state's high volume of UFO sightings and lack of landscaping for residents to hide, caves, forests, etc., and a low number of food and beverages manufacturing companies. Here are the top 10, so let's kind of go 10 to 1. At number 10 was Wisconsin with 7.5. At number 9 was Alabama with 7.54. At number 8, Missouri with 7.62. And I guess number 7, you can say 8 and 7 are tied at 7.62. That was Maryland and Missouri. At number 6 was Illinois with 7.8. At number 5 was Louisiana with 7.82. At number 4 was New York with 7.83. At number 3 was Massachusetts with 7.85. And at number 2 was 7.95, and I will repeat it again just in case if you didn't hear it the first time, but Virginia was ranked at number 1 at 8.04. So there you go. Some stuff to think about, that is for sure. Anyways, after we get out of that nonsense, let's go ahead and bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the market beat.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Friday, June 16th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equity markets advanced Thursday with the S&P 500 gaining roughly 1.5% at the session high and setting a new 14-month high. The melt-up is driven by the idea that the FOMC is close to ending its rate hiking cycle, but will end in disaster. The FOMC is nearing the end of the rate hiking cycle, but interest rates will top out at about 5.5%, well above what the market had priced in, and promise to remain high for the foreseeable future. This has ushered in a new normal for the market that will not fully be realized for at least another year. What this means for the S&P 500 is a reduced demand that will cut into growth. It also means a trading range, and the top of the range is near an all-time high and will probably be reached by the start of Q2 earnings reporting season. Assuming the consensus figures for the second half contract as they have for the last 8 quarters, the odds are high that the S&P 500 will top out at an all-time high, then move sideways within the now established range. You can get the inside track at MarketBeatMinute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for the information on what the hell is going on inside of the market. Here's what I was able to find on my side of the equation. It goes something like this. The Dow added about 428 points to close at 34,408 on Thursday. The S&P added about 53 points to close at 4,425. And the NASDAQ added about 156 points to close at 13,782. West Texas Intermediate closed at $7. I wish it was $7. It's $70 a barrel. And Brent crude closed at $75 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas went up to $3.58 on Thursday, just so you know, information-wise. And Bitcoin began to rebound on Thursday, up about 1.7% and trading just over 25,500. There was about 5,270 flights delayed within, into, and out of the United States on Thursday, with about 144 cancellations, just for information purposes. Tonight's Mega Million drawing will be for $281 million jackpot or $145.2 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, you have the opportunity to do so. And let's see, Saturday night's Powerball drawing will be for $366 million jackpot or $189 million cash payout. So there you go. There you go. All kinds of fun stuff going on right there. Let me talk about this real quick because we talked about it at the top of the hour just for the sake of doing so. Michael Jackson's flu game sneaker sold for more than $1.3 million at auction. The shoes were worn by Jordan on Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals, during which he was battling the flu. After the game, Jordan signed the kicks and gave them to a boy, the ball boy named Preston Truman, who held on to them for over a decade before selling them in 2013. Sometime between then and now, they ended up in the hands of Ken Galden, who facilitated this week's auction. No word yet on who the buyer is. But there you go. Think about that. Used garments with $1.3 million. $1.3 million. Let's talk about this just out of the world of the weird real quick. 3 Spider-Man actors enter a bar, and on this case, a group chat. Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire are all in the group chat called the Spider Boys, and it was created by the three who played Peter Parker in 2021 Spider-Man's No Way Home. Holland, who was played the web-slinging superhero 7 times, shared a tidbit of THR magazine cover story. For the record, Garfield has played Spidey 3 times, and Maguire has played him 4. This is according to the Daily Mail. So now you know what I know. So there you go. So let's talk real quick about some other things. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is traveling to Beijing this weekend. White House Press Secretary says that he has a clear objective.
One, to establish communication channels to help manage competition so it does not veer into conflict, which is something that we have said, keeping those lines of communication open. 2, to stand up and speak for American values.
Blinken's trip marks a rare high-level meeting between U.S. and China in the period of heightened tensions. His visit helps pave the way for additional meetings, including potential one-on-one between President Biden and Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping later this year. Communication and meetings between the U.S. and China have dried up over the last few years due to the pandemic and political tension. Taiwan is another area of concern as China claims that the island is its own territory. Secretary of State Blinken makes the comments on the recent close calls between China's warships and the American destroyer, and also the Chinese fighter jet and the U.S. surveillance planes.
There have been a series of these actions directed not just at us, but at other countries in recent months.
The White House press secretary says that the U.S. officials don't expect a breakthrough in the relationships, but hope to manage the China in a responsible way.
We believe intense competition requires intense diplomacy.
So there you go. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this little meeting eating as we are talking. Take a listen to this real quick. Nearly 1 in 5 Americans are diagnosed with depression, but the range varies greatly by state. Sarah Bartlett explains.
New CDC data shows that it ranges from about 13% of people in Hawaii to more than 27% of people in West Virginia. Researchers say in the report that they saw the highest estimates of depression in the Appalachian region, which includes 25 counties in the western and southern parts of Virginia, along with the southern Mississippi Valley region. The report says it aims to provide numbers, hoping that decision makers can allocate resources where they're needed most. I'm Sarah Bartlett.
Okay, thank you, Sarah Bartlett, for the information right there on what is going on. It's pretty interesting to take a listen to that. We'll talk a little bit more about depression and all that kind of fun stuff later in the hour, but we'll talk about it. The president of Belarus says the nation has started taking delivery of nuclear weapons from Russia. Mark Mayfield has more.
President Alexander Lukashenko said on Thursday that some of the tactical nuclear weapons were 3 times more powerful than the atomic bombs that the U.S. dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. The deliveries mark the first time that Moscow has deployed less powerful, shorter-range nuclear weapons outside of Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union more than 30 years ago. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, take a listen to this real quick. Government authorities say that they are working urgently on damage assessment after several U.S. agencies were hit on a global cyber attack.
U.S. cybersecurity officials said on Thursday that the ransomware attack appears to be part of a widespread and coordinated effort to exploit a vulnerability in a widely used software. Cybersecurity Chief Jen Easterly said based on their assessment, the hackers were opportunistic and not looking to steal high-value information. She added that they are not aware of any hackers threatening to extort or release any data stolen from U.S. government agencies. I'm Mark Mayfield.
So there you go. Some interesting stuff going on there. Take a listen to this one. Federal authorities say that last month's ocean temperatures were the highest ever recorded in the month of May.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration made the announcement on Thursday and said some regions were experiencing ocean surface temperatures up to 7 degrees higher than average for this time of year. Scientists attribute the ocean warming to several factors, including human-caused climate change, a developing El Niño event, and last year's underwater volcanic eruption in the South Pacific. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Oh, interesting, that planet of ours as we are talking about this. Well, listen to this one. This one's going to get pretty strange relatively quick. UFC star Conor McGregor is being accused of sexual assaulting a woman at Game 4 of the NBA Finals last week. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the latest about the allegations.
In a letter obtained by NBC News, the woman's attorney says her client was attending the game in Miami when she was separated from her friend by NBA and Miami Heat security staff and taken into a bathroom where she says McGregor was waiting.
The woman alleges that he aggressively kissed her and forced her into a sex act, but she says that she elbowed McGregor and escaped. Instead, the lawsuit says that she's seeking a settlement from the 34-year-old MMA fighter as well as the NBA and the Miami Heat after the allegations happening at the center in Florida. The UFC star denies the allegations, and the representatives of McGregor will not be intimidated. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez says that has more on Conor McGregor after being at Game 4 at the NBA Finals.
The biggest name in UFC, mixed martial arts' largest promotion, but he hasn't fought since 2021. McGregor was a guest at the Finals game between the Heat and the Denver Nuggets and staged a mock fight with the Heat mascot during halftime.
Hold on, didn't that mock fight end up being with the mascot getting knocked out? Wasn't that the occurrence? I'm just asking the question here. Now, listen, everybody has their own opinion on this guy because, you know, controversy seems to follow him regardless of what he does, and we don't have to get into that. But what do you think about the allegations? Because here's what's going to happen. Until something happens with that, it's going to be in the, how do we say this? In the world of public opinion. And regardless of what we find out, the world of public opinion will play a factor into this whole thing. So it'll be interesting to hear what happens with it. There is no doubt about it. As we are talking, here you go. So there you go. Anyways, 32 minutes past top of the hour. You know it's Freeform Friday, so let's do this.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Julia Chapman. Explosions have been reported in Kyiv as African leaders arrive in the city for a peace mission. Ukraine's Air Force Command says several Caliber-type cruise missiles were launched at the country from the Black Sea. It comes as U.S. officials have said President Biden would be open to offering Ukraine an easier path to NATO membership, despite still refusing to provide a timeline. The alliance has been pressured to guarantee Ukraine would be allowed to join after the end of the war. Alex Cadier reports from Brussels.
President Zelensky has been pushing for NATO to give his country a timeline for when it'll be able to join the alliance after the war is over. So far, no timeline has been set. However, U.S. officials have hinted on Friday that President Biden is open to Ukraine being exempted from part of NATO's usual membership process. Now, that plan would typically require a new member to make military and democratic reforms in order to align itself with the alliance's standards. While the democratic reforms would still have to happen, Kyiv may be dispensed from those military changes, which would considerably accelerate its membership process.
A grand jury has indicted the U.S. Air National Guardsman accused of leaking military intelligence online. Jack Teixeira faces 6 counts of retaining and transmitting classified national defense information. Ira Spitzer reports.
Massachusetts Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira was formally charged at a federal court in Boston over allegedly leaking dozens of highly sensitive files onto the social media platform Discord. Those files included classified information about the war in Ukraine, as well as intelligence regarding U.S. allies like South Korea and Egypt. Teixeira was arrested in April and is currently in jail awaiting trial. If convicted, he could face up to 60 years in prison. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
Gale force winds and heavy rains are lashing coastal parts of northwest India and southern Pakistan after cyclone Biparjoy made landfall on Thursday. Local officials say there's no power in 940 villages in Gujarat. 2 people have died and 22 are injured so far. Ishan Garg explains.
The government has moved people who are living within 10 kilometers of the coastal areas of Gujarat into rescue shelters, and they're being provided with food. And some parts of Gujarat are also seeing officials doling out cash to the people who might need it. The government has also initiated a special program to protect the wild animals of Gujarat as well. Gir National Park, which is one of the only places in India where you can find the Asiatic lion. Special provisions have been made to protect the wildlife at the same time.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, remembering the British actress and politician Glenda Jackson, whose death was announced on Thursday at the age of 87. In an acting career that lasted 6 decades, she won 2 Oscars, 3 Emmys, 2 BAFTAs and a Tony Award, honoured for films including Women in Love, A Touch of Class and Queen Elizabeth I in the BBC's Elizabeth R. In her 50s, she turned to politics, becoming a firebrand parliamentarian for Britain's Labour Party. She returned to the stage at the age of 80, and in an appearance last year at the British Film Institute, was asked if she worried that opportunities for women in acting and politics were slipping backwards.
I never really noticed it going forward, but I'm... But I say that more as a female than as a working class female, I have to say. And we're still looking at a situation where contemporary dramatists find women boring. I mean, they are rarely, if ever, the central driving engine of what the writer has decided to explore, and I find that utterly bewildering. Well, I don't find it bewildering, I just bitch about it a lot.
Glenda Jackson recently completed a new film alongside Michael Caine. On Thursday, he described her as one of our greatest movie actresses. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
To recap the top stories, explosions have been reported in Kyiv as African leaders arrive in the city for a peace mission. A grand jury has indicted the U.S. Air National Guardsman accused of leaking military intelligence online. And at least 2 people have died after cyclone Biparjoy made landfall in India and Pakistan. That's the latest feature story news. Julia Chapman reporting.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
Best day of my life. This is the Rated R Safety Show. Jay Allen in the morning show, hour numero uno. You know, we kind of do that mixed thing. Not that mixed reality. That's something entirely something different that people do. So with that being said, best day of our life, Jason Walker. Thank you for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. You can give it a little streamer emer action, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. So there you go. Yep, living the best day of their life. So, thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into the move and the groove of things as it is 43 minutes past the top of the hour, and we're doing all the fun stuff that we get to do. But let me tell you real quick about one of my favorite organizations on the planet. It might even be my favorite organization on the planet now that I really think about it. Not one of, it might just be it. And that's To Write Love on Her Arms. To find out more information on what they do, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com. Listen, no matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. We want you to know that people have been where you are right now. and things can get better. Healing is possible. Listen, all you have to do is go to their website, twloha.com, and click on the section that says Find Help. And sometimes I don't reference this, and I want to make sure that I do reference this. They are not a paid advertiser. They are not somebody who promotes blah, 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 we co-promote or anything like this. I have so much belief in this organization that, hey, I think we need to talk about it. And I think that, you need to know where you can find resources, because this is still a subject matter that is a little taboo to some. It is still a little taboo on, can we talk about these things? And hell yes, we can talk about this. And hell yes, we can talk about how it's okay not to be okay. Seriously. People have this, this false expectation that things are perfect all the time. And they're not. There are times in life that life just sucks. Seriously. It just does. It's not great. And sometimes there's times in life that things seem to be great and nothing sucks. And we need to find a happy medium somewhere in between, if we can. And if we can't, that's fine too. So listen, twloha.com, go all the way to the far right-hand side. Click on the section that says Find Help. All kinds of resources available for you. To Write Love on Her Arms, just in case if you don't know what it stands for, but that's what it's about. Believe me, if you look into the backstory on what it's about, you might be pleasantly surprised. Anyways, we talked about it throughout the day so far about movies that are opening this week. At number 1 opening, it's The Flash. Barry Allen uses his super speed to change the past, but in his attempt to save his family, he creates a world without superheroes, forcing him to race for his life in order to save the future. So that comes out today, just so you know. Elemental also is coming out. Asteroid City. And let's see, what's the last one? The Blackening. A group of black friends reunite on Juneteenth getaway, only to find themselves trapped in a remote cabin with a twisted killer. The friends soon realize this ain't no game. So there you go. So some stuff going on real quick. Let's talk real quick about some future developments, because it seems like a cool thing to talk about. But someday, every seat on an airplane will be a window seat. Now, a new concept design show how travelers will be able to gaze at the stars above the future airplanes, outfitted with an enormous, by car standards, moonroof. Aerospace giant Airbus are showing off their version of the next-gen cabins, which include an all-around view of the clouds as you get through them. The Airspace Cabin Vision 2035 concept also lets passengers tap on smart interactive windows that shows the travel time, let them explore the destination city. And the company also says the passengers will enjoy a greater choice of meals thanks to the new pre-ordering concepts, which may involve passengers collecting their meals at the gate to reduce waste. Yeah, I really want a window overhead in the middle of a lightning storm. Think about that for a moment. Something tells me that they might be those concepts where they're the LCD screens where you can change what the hell is going on. Just have that weird feeling that might be what it is. Also, on the other side, emojis of all things could soon start popping up in medical communication, such as emails and letters from doctors, according to new research. While it may sound kind of a strange thing and even unprofessional, study authors say that pictograms are renowned for their universal appeal and may be able to replace traditional communication methods and engage with more patients. Researchers from the University of California, Riverside propose that employing these expressive icons in healthcare communication could have several benefits, including universal recognition and accessibility across diverse populations. Still, it may seem harsh when you get the test result back and it begins with a dead guy face. I mean, just think about that for a moment. That could get weird relatively quick.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
I mean, could you imagine? I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyways, take a listen to this. This is, let me see. Hold on real quick. One thing. Spotify is ending their podcast deal with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Take a listen.
I'm Megan, and this is Archetypes.
A joint statement from Harry and Meghan's company says they've mutually agreed to part ways. 12 episodes ran in the podcast called Archetypes, which began last August in a deal estimated to be worth $25 million. In December, Archetypes was voted Best Podcast at the People's Choice Awards. The BBC says the royal couple reportedly failed to meet the productivity benchmark required by Spotify, but that Markle was continuing to develop more content on another platform. I'm Michael Kastner.
So there you go. Yeah, that could be a potential issue if you're not actually hitting up the amount of stuff that that your provider is requesting. That could be, that's a small issue in regard to what the hell's going on. Anyways, I got a lot of stuff for you today, so let's do this because it is Friday. So let's do this right now. Let's bring some John Smalls into our life. Let him tell us about what the hell is going on with the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Frank. Lao Tzu said, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there's nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you." I love this. I have met people who seem to be disappointed with whatever they have. There was a great video example of this a few years back. There was a guy walking who saw a guy on a bike and he said, "Man, I wish I had a bike." Then the guy on the bike saw a guy in a car and he's like, "Man, I wish I had a car." And then that guy saw a guy in a super nice car and he's like, "I wish I had a nice car." And then that final guy saw a guy in an airplane and he said, "I wish I had an airplane." Hey, be happy and thankful for what you have. Count your blessings. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlysaMorgan.com. There is one basic currency of motivation, drive, and reward-seeking behavior, and that is dopamine. It is a remarkable molecule that can sustain effort, make us feel like life is worth living, and striving for goals is worthwhile. It can also direct us towards pleasure. Here is an interesting distinction. Addiction is a progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. Happiness is a progressive expansion of things that bring you pleasure. The former emerges passively and the latter takes work. As a general rule, beware of anything that delivers high dopamine with minimal effort. Enjoy the little things in life, of course, but keep the amount of dopamine scaled with a degree of effort to reach it. When the opposite occurs, and we receive a lot of dopamine with minimal effort, it may actually lead to addictions due to developed tolerance of dopamine. For more information on wellness, check out AlysaMorgan.com.
Hello, I'm Richard Exley with your 1-minute devotion. In addition to food and shelter, every child needs 3 things: unconditional love, consistent discipline, and spiritual training. If you provide these 3 essentials, you can be reasonably sure your children will turn out all right. Deprive them of these fundamentals, and they will struggle with their self-esteem all their lives. Discipline without love is tyrannical and produces children who will grow up to be hostile and angry. Love without discipline is permissive and produces children who grow up to be selfish and obnoxious. But when unconditional love and consistent discipline are combined, they produce children who are emotionally whole and well-adjusted. Lord, help us to give our children love, discipline, and spiritual training. Amen. If these devotions are a blessing and an encouragement to you, you can subscribe at oneminutedevotion.com.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, there you go. 53 minutes past, because, we talk a little bit about everything. And that is what is going on. Take a listen to this real quick, because I think we need to talk about it. The family of the 1-year-old Kai Jani Jones is continuing to push the arrest to be made on the charges filed in February's death. Mother Amanda O'Brien and her relatives protested outside the Grand Rapids Police Headquarters yesterday after Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker said this week that he did not have enough evidence to charge the people who were watching Jones.
These people just gonna walk. I'm not okay with it. I'm not letting it go. I will be here every single day until they arrest somebody.
Deputy Police Chief Kristen Rogers says that the case is not closed just because Becker currently doesn't have enough evidence, and officers will continue to investigate. She says that they are not taking the little girl's death lightly. Deputy Chief Kristen Rogers says that the case is not closed. Take a listen.
And it's very frustrating, as law enforcement agents, because you know that somebody's lying, right? And so somebody knows something and they're not saying. And so I think it's frustrating all the way around for everybody.
So it'll be interesting to see how this case continues to go. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffrey says the federal indictment of Donald Trump over his handling of classified documents speaks for itself. And going in a little bit further, the New York Democrat told the reporters that it has confidence that the jurors and ultimately the American people will arrive to an outcome that's just. His comments comes from the House Republicans that have rallied around the president following last week's indictment accusing Biden administration of weaponizing the Justice Department to go after President Biden political rival. So what do you think about that? How does it make you feel when we talk about all this stuff? I don't know. Just saying, just bringing up the information as we are talking for sure. So there you go. Anyways, with that being said, 55 minutes has definitely passed since we started hanging out and doing our lovely things together. Let's talk real quick about some things that happened back on this date because it seems like it might be important to do so. So taking a look around, if I go back to, let's go to 2017 real quick. If I go into 2017, Amazon buys Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. The purchase was a strategic move from Amazon to enter the brick and mortar and organic food markets. That happened back in 2017. So it's already been 6 years. 6 years since all that stuff occurred. Isn't that interesting on how you take a look at that and go, wow, where has the time gone? Like, seriously, I like, it does not feel like it's been that long, but it has been. So there you go. Take a listen to this. Florida Governor is speaking out at the event Pride Month at the White House that turned sour. Ron DeSantis is calling for Biden administration after trans activists flashed their breast.
And I think even the White House had to acknowledge it was inappropriate. But I would ask them, if it is inappropriate to do that at the White House, which I certainly think it is, why do you want to have that curriculum jammed into a second grader's classroom? That's what you're always talking about.
3 days after the incident, a White House spokesperson announced the transgender female Rose Montoya was banned from the White House, calling her behavior inappropriate and disrespectful. The statement goes to say that Montoya and others' videos that went viral will not be invited to future events. So there you go, some stuff to think about as we are talking. Let's talk about some birthdays that are going on today. I'll give you a few. Diane DeGarmo turns 36. Eddie Kassibian turns 50. Phil McKenzie turns 53. Daniel Bernstein turns 59. Laura McCaff turns 68. And Robert Durand, the boxer, he turned 72 today. So just so you go. So some birthdays that are going on real quick. Let's see. If you need some reason to celebrate today, well, I always have some of those for you. Don't I? Don't I have some of those days to celebrate? I always feel like I do. So what days can you celebrate today? Well, it's Ugliest Dog Day. It's Fresh Veggies Day, World Tapas Day, National Fudge Day, and Arborist Appreciation Day. No, seriously, there is a day of the year to celebrate for that. And let's talk about this one. Let's have Bree Tennis tell you about it.
Civic Science says 60% of the population in the U.S. wear flip-flops, 20% wear them to work. They're not just beachwear, there's orthopedic flip-flops. California and Florida have a lot of flip-flop wearers, but it's Hawaii for the win. Jimmy Buffett sings about blowing out a flip-flop. It can happen. There are about 20,000 flip-flop-related injuries every year, not including the Latin culture La Chancla, where one is thrown as discipline. We embrace the laid-back style of flip-flops today, but by all means, no socks, and yes to a pedicure. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
Yep, that's what happens when it's National Flip-Flop Day. So go flip and flop today if you have the opportunity to do so. Anyways, if you need a random joke for today, you can always tell what was the best year of your father's life because they seem to freeze on that clothing style and write it out. So there you go. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What is the best piece of advice you ever got from a dear old dad? Think about that. And then if you need something for the water cooler, try this. 25% of men say that they turned into their father when they began doing this. What is it? dancing badly at parties, and a family gathering. So there you go. That sums up our time together at the top of the hour. I'll be going over to Radio Big for the next couple hours or so, just hanging out there. You can hang out here with Sheldon Primus on Safety FM if you want to do that, talk about the business of safety consulting. Thank you for being the best part of Safety FM, and that is the listener. If I can leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this one. A father is someone you look up to no matter how tall you grow. Think about that. Anyways, I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.